Welcome to day 4 of our Niche Leaders Challenge, where we are talking to several of our recent authors, anything from 3 years ago, which was Caroline Dowd Higgins yesterday, to our guest today, Johnny. Johnny, your book has only been out like 2 months. Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah, September
Yeah.
12th.
Awesome. So we're going to get a chance to talk to Johnny about the journey because it's hot and fresh in his mind, and also what's happening already in the first 2 months the book is out. So I love to kick this off with telling people a little bit about you. But the first thing I want to ask is, how proud of you are you about your book?
Oh, it was a big undertaking, an idea that I thought of about 5 years ago finally came to fruition. So definitely feels great to have it complete. Certainly a very vulnerable moment, to put your words out there to the public to get some real feedback. But no, it feels fantastic. It's a great business tool for me personally and for my team, and it's definitely accomplishing the goals that we set out to accomplish.
That's great. All right, so we're going to dig into that story. So let's go back and talk about what you do because you actually live not far from me. Like we're in the
That's
same
right.
town, and which is unusual because our clients and authors are across the country. But it's really fun when we get to work with somebody local. So let's talk about what you do and about how that came out in your book. Or go ahead.
Yeah. So I live in Otterburn, Indiana, just west of Purdue University, not far from Nicole, like she mentioned. I'm a farmland advisor and broker. So I'm one of the co owners and the president of a farmland brokerage management and appraisal company here based in Lafayette called Guess Wine Farm and Land. We've been in business since 1977. Our main corporate office is here in Lafayette. We also have an office in Tuscola, Illinois, and then we have team members spread across the entire state of Indiana, Illinois, and Michigan. So we advise farm families, farmland investors, and help families with the transition of their legacy farmland assets from one generation to the next.
Yeah, and if you understand, like well, you do, obviously, but if our viewers understand what's going on in American farmland right now, um, bring us up to speed. Like, why is this topic so important right now?
Yeah, I mean that there's a lot happening in the world of ag. Economics aren't very good right now. If you're a traditional row crop farmer, the average age of the American farmer is about 60 years old. In some areas, it's much higher than that, and it's a big time period of what we call generational asset transfer. That's going from maybe parents or grandparents to kids, grandkids, etc. So there's a major shift in agriculture, uh, and specifically the family farm.
Hmm. And what's your competition like? Like, what does competition look like to you, or what's the market look like, so people understand? Because today's topic is about like finding your unique voice in your story, in your message. How do you stand out when if you look at real estate, farm real estate, you might sound like everybody else in the market. What makes you special?
Well, I mean, we've been in business since 1977. I mean, that's first and foremost. We're a local company, boots on the ground. We're not a large, national brand. I mean, we do have competition from these large national companies, with offices in multiple states, hundreds of employees, and we're truly a small business. Most of our team members either grew up on the farm, still own part of the family farm. Some of our brokers and appraisers, they still farm their family farm, So we have this unique niche in where, the majority of our team members, really walk in the same shoes as the clients that we work with on a daily basis.
All right. That's interesting because that's what we talked about with Ben on Tuesday, the same deal. His competition are these large national organizations. And, when you're trying to compete against somebody who has a deep pockets for ads and campaigns and brands that are well known, uh, then writing a great book is your secret weapon, right? And a way to really connect. And so we're going to dig into the storytelling in your book and why it connects so strongly with your audience. But let's start at the beginning because every one of our authors starts on this journey with me. Like in this case, you and I worked for several hours together, really trying to define what's the scope of this book. And we had 3 different audiences, potential candidates for your book. Do you want to go back? What were the 3 different candidates we could have written to?
Well, the primary audience is the person who has inherited the family farm, whether they're actively farming the farm themselves. They could be non-farming heirs. Maybe their brother or sister still farms the family farm. Our other kind of target audience, are my primary and key referral partners, which are the CPAs, the attorneys, the wealth advisors, the other folks that are sort of sitting at the table with our ideal clients, and then also, the folks that are also out there doing similar consulting work. There's other folks that are doing succession planning and estate planning. We kind of wanted to try to wrap all of those
Mm.
things together and create a book, that could resonate with all of them.
Yeah. So you had different readers, different ambitions. And what I love about your book is story brings it all together. What was the so oh, by the way, do you have a copy of your book? I've got it sitting on my shelf right here. Do you have one handy
Uh,
closer?
I probably do. Yeah, I've
I can
got.
grab
Well,
I can grab mine. Hang
I've
tight.
got the not for resale copy sitting
Oh
right
no.
there. I give my book away every time I've got a copy of it. I mean, that's all that I do is give my book away as fast as I can. So,
Yeah. Well, you know what's funny is Kimberly and I, my EA, and I went and met with Purdue Books the other day, and I talked about this um, on I think Monday or Tuesday when we were talking to Ben. I think that we've published more Purdue alumni maybe than any other publisher, which is really
oh
fun.
wow,
So, but we took a stack of books of different authors from our community that we've published and alumni and faculty, and your book was on there. And one of
well, thank
the
you.
yeah, well, one of the group members is like, oh, "You did Johnny's book?" She's like, "I love Johnny," and so and then she took my book. I gave it to her. She's like, and I said, "Would you like it?" She said, "Can I have it?" So that was my beautiful hard copy. This is the paperback version, so I've got to get myself another hardcover version. Um, Gorgeous book. We spent a lot of time on the front cover and the right image for the right emotion for you for that. What do you
Yeah.
think about the cover?
I love the cover. I at one point in time I thought, well, am I being annoying to Nicole and her team because I really wanted the cover to be right, and it just like anything, you got to trust your gut, and we finally landed on something that just it resonated with me. I know it resonates with my audience because I've had a lot of comments just on the cover itself, but we tried to make the cover stand out so that way my target audience not only would they resonate with the imagery, but the key, title of my book is these 3 words: American Family Farmland. And so the goal there was that no matter what sort of space my ideal audience was in, they would resonate with at least one of those big bold words in my title. And then, if they decided to read the subtitle, that's really where we get into, the whole thought process and the concept behind the book.
Yeah, I think it probably took us a little over maybe almost 2 months to get to the right cover design for
Yeah.
you. One of the challenges for a good cover, if you want a full photo background, one of the big challenges is that it doesn't look self-published. Because the first thing that somebody self-publishes a book is they throw a full cover photo on the background and then it just feels cheap. And so this is not that. This is gorgeous. I'm very pleased with the final result on that cover. Um, okay, so we worked through the title, we worked the subtitle and the outline. What was the hardest part of this process for you? What surprised you about it?
Well, the hardest part was the very first time you told me I had to write 45,000 words. And then I was a deer in headlights and scared to death.
I don't know what you were expecting this process to look like. That's how this works.
But the hard part for me was wrapping my brain around what I'm really getting ready to embark on. I mean, Nicole and the team are saying you need to write 45,000 words to get here, and you know I did not know where to start. I mean, I spent quite some time just being at my computer and nothing would come out.
Yeah.
But what I will say that I really love about what you and your team do is that then you said, hey, what we need here is we need a book strategist, right? And you introduced me to Melanie, right?
Mhm.
And that ultimately turned in an introduction to Ellen. And for me personally, because of how busy I am, running our company, overseeing, a large team across 3 states, my time is highly valuable to me. My family time is really important to me. And so once I got a chance to sit down with the book strategist and just carve this book into these bite-sized chunks that were really manageable, then it just started flowing. I mean,
Yeah.
I had great momentum after that. And then I actually started feeling really good about writing a book
Yeah.
instead of scared of writing a book.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go back. So for the language, I'll fix that. I'm actually the book strategist. So what you and I did at the beginning was look at how does the book fit? Is it into the brand, into the business? What are your offers going to be? How can we improve the sales flow? How would your team use this across 2 states? You've got agents, and so that's what we did on the strategy level. And then it was Mel who was able to come in, and we call that developmental coaching, right?
Okay, gotcha,
So that's,
gotcha.
yeah. And so that was where you and I had started on this. We were building an outline and we were really struggling because you had 3 different audiences. And so the outline was where we were like, what could we do? What could we do? We do. And there are 2 types of writing styles. Um, so some people really struggle with outlines, right? Some people need to get into a flow and get writing first, and then the outline starts to emerge. And then there are other people who have to work with an outline. And what we discovered in the process is I'm an outline girl, and you were more of a flow writer. And so that's where we brought in Melanie, and she was able to work with you on the flow. And that's what I love is there's people for that and there's specialties for that. And then yeah, Melanie is amazing. She's one of our editors and one of our team members. Let's talk about Michael Haig as well, because you worked with Michael Haig on the stories extensively. How was that?
It was incredible. I mean, Michael was able to take, my even just my ideas of, my stories and taking my clients who are ultimately the heroes of this journey that I help them walk through these big once in a lifetime decisions and really make the book um, readable, enjoyable, but more importantly, I wanted my book to have sort of a sitting at the coffee table conversation tone to it, because that's how I typically meet with my clients. We're either at their family farm, sitting at their kitchen table, or we're sitting on the tailgate of a pickup truck, on their family farm, or riding in a tractor or a combine. And I really wanted my book to feel that way to the reader as they were reading it, because to me, stories are incredibly important, and they're a big part of my clients' lives, right? Because the family farm has often been in the family for generations and passed down, through uh, values, work ethic, and the stories that go with the family farm. And so, working with Michael was just fantastic. I'm really pleased with how he coached me along and got me to the finish line to end up with this story arc that made sense for all of my target audiences.
Yeah. So if you're just joining us and you haven't seen the earlier days of the 5 day challenge, I should recap and say Michael Haig is our Hollywood storytelling expert. So he worked with Will Smith and Jada in their home for 7 years on their movies, and he is absolutely brilliant at finding the emotional power in a story. And I think everybody that I work with comes to him. Some people think I'm a pretty good storyteller. Other people think I'm not a good storyteller, and Michael is able to work with either side and really transform their ability to tell a story, which will not only translate to a much better book. And so we'll dig into that story in your book in just a second, but it also translates then to those conversations that you're having I love that, on the tailgate of a pickup truck. It translates to podcast interviews. It translates to your stories on stage, right? It translates just to your own confidence of being able to understand what is it I'm really doing for somebody? Like what's the emotional shift that's happening inside of them. So you have a great opening story, and that was the first story that you worked with on Michael. You want to talk a little bit about it and working with Michael through it? What'd you learn?
Yeah. So some of the first words that I ever wrote for the book were my own personal story about our family farm. But we start the book really with a story, a real world story of a family that I worked with several years ago, that sort of had every possible problem and roadblock that pretty much all of my clients may experience on some level or another. Um, they kind of all had those problems. And so, we started with a story of literally me driving out to a family farm, describing the scenery, describing the farmhouse, describing all the emotions that all of these family members were going through. And then we sort of transitioned that to, my own family farm story, and the loss of our family farm, and sort of coming to a place of my higher purpose and calling, and even weaving that into the farm that I eventually started all over again for my own family. So,
How many stories do you have in the book?
oh, we have a lot. There's two main stories that sort of go through the entire book, and then we have what I would call just sort of vignettes, where I sort of illustrate, here's maybe the top 10 concerns that my clients or my target audience has, and sort of paint these little miniature stories that maybe were just one or two paragraphs to sort of talk about a certain aspect of a problem or a challenge. So, I mean, I would say overall there's probably at least 20 different little vignettes that are in there, plus the two main stories. But we put them in there strategically, right, for different sections of my book that were guiding my target audience through these big life decisions that they have to make.
Yeah. I think that's, if you look at a book that you would write in that manner versus what might else, the competitor's book, that's your huge advantage, right? These people know you know these people,
Yeah.
right? When you tell those stories, there's no covering that up. It's not a corporate headquarters. You're working real people one on one. I mean, people know that you and I have met in real person, right? And work together. And that is, where the little guy sometimes wins. Um, okay, so what did you learn about storytelling? Like, what surprised you about how you were telling your own stories, or what you didn't know about stories, or what's the big gem from that working with Michael?
The big takeaway, from the storytelling and from working with Michael is that we took a fresh look at all of our marketing company wide. I mean, top to bottom, website, all the resource guides that we'd already had, created, all of the new resource guides that were sort of in our queue that our designers were already working on, and we kind of revamped everything, and to our advantage too. It's worked fantastically. We've revamped. We do a lot of direct mail in our world. We've revamped all of our direct mail pieces, and we continue to blend story into every bit of marketing that we're doing. And it's been fantastic. We've had a lot of great results. Some of our newer direct mail pieces, we've had just incredible, increases in response rates, even. And it's been great. I mean, I didn't go into writing the book to, specifically think that might be one of the results, but it definitely was, and very positive for us.
That's really cool. So Michael would be upset if I didn't poke into that a little bit more. Michael, I'm sure, is sitting here thinking, ask him more. I love that. I want people to know you have a very successful business already. In fact, while you were writing this book, it was growing exponentially, and that was one of the challenges you had. Is you, yeah, I think you said I invited you to do a TED talk next week, and you can't. You've got one of the biggest auctions of your career, right, in a week
Yeah.
coming up. So you already had a successful business. What I loved when I worked with you is you already had great branding, you had great structure. And what I hear you saying, which delights me, is you learned how to incorporate story and even take that to the next level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very true.
Yeah. That's really fun. Um, so let's talk about the book's role now. What's the book's role from page 1 to page 200? What do you hope readers are getting out of it? And what do you want them to do at the end of the book?
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, I mean, I wrote this book to help families through one of the biggest decisions that they typically ever make in their life with their family farm. It's a big emotional process, it's a big financial process. Through my own personal experience and walking with so many clients over the years, I've seen relationships among family members, get broken and destroyed because of this monumental decision. And I truly wrote the book first and foremost to help families, right? And I always thought, if my book can help one more family, I did the job, right? And so that was kind of where I started. The book itself has done so much more than that. I mean, it's a tool for my entire team now. It opens a lot of doors for us. We give the book away as fast as we can. I mean, I did a lot of research about service-based companies that have authored books. I mean, there's even a little case study in one of the guides that you provide all the authors,
Mhm.
that talks about what's the return on investment for writing a book and being an authority in your space, or being a thought leader, whatever, however you want to frame it. And the book opens doors. It truly does. We use it as a touch point for a lot of different parts of our just general process. We give it away to anyone who has gotten an appraisal on their farm. We give it away to community organizations that our brokers work with. I mean, it's just become a tool that I just, I never, I'd hoped it would do all these things. But now, even in this first couple of months, I've seen it. I'm already thinking about what's the next book we can write, honestly. So,
Yeah. Oh, wow. That's they're like Lay's potato chips. Once you write one and you see what it can do, and you're like, okay, I want two or three more of these, which then provides fresh blood, right, or fresh energy into a business, and
yeah.
opens up into a new market, right? And so that goes back to what we've talked about earlier when we work with authors. The mistake I see most authors make is they write a book looking backwards, like what's the easy book for me to write? And what you've done here and what you're doing when you start looking at the next books is saying, what new markets do we want to move into? Where do we, what do we need to shore up where we are now? Where do we want to go, and where do we want to grow? And then what's the book for that? So you set a goal to wait. What was the date of your launch? September or something, right?
We did like we officially, Kim kind of launched it on the 12th, but technically it was September the 23rd was
Okay.
kind of technically when we did it. So, not very long ago. I was just looking at my calendar. Yeah, like
Yeah.
just a couple of months ago.
September. Yeah. So it's November 6th right now. You launched it officially to the public on the 23rd of September. You
Yeah.
had a goal of getting, I believe, 1,000 books out. What was your goal by the end of the year?
My goal was to get 1,000 books out. Yeah,
Yeah. By the end
we've
of the year.
gotten, yeah, we've already done that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
How are you
Now
getting
I'm
them out?
fortunate. I've got a great team. So, part of it was the strategy before the book launch. I mean, we spent a lot of time on the book website. We spent a lot of time prior to book launch, gathering all of the top influencers in our marketplace, who are the media outlets, who are the podcasts, all of those things. And then we sent, I don't know the total number of advanced reader copies, but Kim helped us get a significant number of advanced reader copies. We got those out ahead of time of book launch. We worked on the timing of all of that, and that caused just a huge surge in just organic, book sales because of that. And now what we're doing though is more strategic, for our team members. Every one of my team members got 100 copies of the book, right? And they have those in their trucks. They have them at their home offices. They're giving them out to clients, on a daily, weekly basis. If one of my team members, is on a specific board, or they're, involved in a project that's ag related, we're giving books away to those organizations or those meetings. I've got next week, I'm on a really big, I got asked to be on a really large podcast next week in the ag space. And they ended up giving, we did 100, the first 100 registrants got a free copy of my book. And they ended up with 250 people registering for the webinar. So we're trying to be strategic about it. Not everybody has the budget to just give away books, but you not too long ago had, I can't remember the author's name, I apologize, but he authored the book before the bestseller,
Hmm.
and he was a guest that you had on for all of the niche authors to just listen to and learn from. And I got a copy of his book. I read it from cover to cover, and I just started implementing all of those things. And so um, we're giving away as fast as we can. I mean, that's really the reality of it, especially to our referral partners, because we get it in the hands of CPAs, attorneys, and wealth advisors, and they're the ones giving it to their clients. It speaks volumes, and we've gotten a lot of new business in the first couple of months just because of the book.
Nice. Oh, there's so much I want to unpack there. Let's talk about new business, and then I want to go back because I'm sure people are listening and going, wait, tell me exactly like what you did and what you're doing. So let's talk about new business. Your goal was to get the first 1,000 out. You called Kim the other day with some good news that you're pretty pleased with already. What are the results so far in your first two
Oh, I
months?
mean, we
One,
we we
1 month?
we were in head-to-head competition with one of our main competitors here in Indiana to, to auction. It was for the sale of a family farm, but they'd come to this conclusion that that was what was best for them. And so what I do now is anytime I have, FaceTime or a Zoom call or a, meeting with a potential client, I mean, I send the book to them immediately, unannounced. I inscribe the inside cover, I print out a little letter, I get them the book. And in this particular case, the book arrived right before they went to go meet with my competitor. And, that was kind of all it took. They still met with our competitor, but we got the business. We're really excited about it. And it's just blows me away.
Mhm.
I was on a podcast, right when the launch, right before the launch was happening as well, with somebody who I would consider sort of a colleague, right, who does a lot of succession planning consulting in the ag space with family farms, and he read the book. And then he asked if he could get 100 copies of the book to give to his clients. And so, of course, I said yes, but you don't have to buy them. I'm going to ship you 100 books. And how about as a trade, you have me back on your podcast after you work with a client and use my book as a tool? Let's go back and do a third podcast and sort of do a video testimonial. And he was all for it. And yeah, it's opened so many doors.
That's so fantastic. Johnny, I'm thrilled for you. Okay, so let's do some math here. One of the big advantages that our authors have working with us is you own your print rights, you own your retail accounts. You don't pay me a nickel. So the more books you sell, you don't own a royalty to me. But what's more important to me for this process is that means you get to buy your book direct from the printer, any printer you choose, which makes it so much more affordable for you to give the books away as fast as you can. Right. So those copies that you're buying are probably paperback, what, 350 a piece, right?
Not even 350 a piece.
Okay, there you
Yeah.
go. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you look at what it would cost to run Facebook ads to get in front of your audiences, right? And to be able to give them a
Yeah.
book that they're going to sit down on their sofa with their favorite drink and read for 2 hours, your
Yeah.
stories, your message, like it's unbeatable marketing. You want to comment
It
on
is.
that? What are you hearing from
Yeah.
people that are reading it?
Well, I'm getting a lot of great feedback from readers. I'm blown away. I mean, I have 16 5-star reviews on Amazon, and I'm blown away. I mean, these are people who I have no idea who they are. I don't know where they live. They found out about my book, whether it's through a podcast or maybe a mailing or something, and they took action and bought the book and were compelled, to leave a 5-star review on Amazon. And
Yeah.
I'm constantly blown away. Literally this morning, when I first checked my email, I had a message on LinkedIn from someone in the ag space in Oakland, California, telling me that he got my book, he read it, these are the things that resonated with him, and he asked if we could, set up a call to talk more about it. And I'm just, I'm continually blown away every day. But I will say with certainty that, I'm every week I'm working with a farm family who's struggling with something, right? And I've had a lot of my clients already, pick up the phone or send me a text or call me to say, "Hey, I read your book. Thank you so much. This is really helping us get through X, Y, or Z." And it just comes back to the purpose of writing the book, and that it is really helping my clients, and now I know that it's helping other people outside of even where I'm working, and there's a lot of satisfaction there.
Oh, I love it. Okay, so we'll go back to the logistics. So you're buying books in bulk from your printer.
Yeah.
Um, and then you are, like you said, you're putting 100 in every vehicle of all of your sales team. How many people do you have that work for you that are out on the road?
Uh, Out on the road, probably about 12 that are out on the road pretty
Mhm,
consistently.
mhm.
Yeah. Yep.
That's a big chunk of investment. You sent them
Yep.
out. So we'll start with the advanced reader copies. So advanced reader copies were the book. I before it was actually released. So we send out early copies. I'm trying to think, was it proofread at that point?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
it was the final book, and I chose to send out I wanted anybody who got an advanced reader copy to open the package and have even that be an experience, right? I mean, that's a really important thing, right? I mean, you want to sort of set the tone for what your ultimate goal is there. And so we created a package where we had the hardcover copy of the book. So it was pricey to do that, but it was well worth it. Hardcover copy of the book. I ended up doing these leather coasters that say American Family Farmland and have, the book cover on it. Something that I was hopeful would stay on that person's desk, not just get thrown away. And then the other thing I did was it's kind of a little, I don't know, tchotchke kind of a gift, but it's called a weather stick. And it's actually this piece of wood that you mount outside in the weather, and when the weather's nice it points up, and when it's the weather's getting bad the stick actually moves down. And so it's kind of got this tie to the land and to farming and to agriculture. And we made like a cool little custom piece that went with that weather stick to describe, how it related to the book, how it related to farmland. And so most of the people we sent the advanced reader copies sent me pictures of their weather stick that they'd put up either at their house or at their office. And so we tried to be very conscious to, like, how can we make not just the book, but our brand and what we're trying to do stick with that person who really is an influencer in my space. So
I'm so excited. I'm delighted. I remember when we were brainstorming what you could do to do that. And then I had not heard what you actually ended up doing. It was brilliant. Way to go.
yeah, I
Okay.
wish I
So,
had I wish I had a weather
yeah,
stick with me to show you, but
yeah, I would love to see it, the whole kit, because, you know, the whole concept that we're working on with authors is what's the whole user experience design? What's the design of people going, meeting you, reading your stories, you know, finding you on the web, finding you on Amazon, like all the different ways that people come to you, and then how do you orchestrate a good experience? And part of that was your advanced reader copy strategy was to go out to influencers that could help you spread the book faster. And that's
yeah.
why it was a really great investment. Do you know what it costs you per piece to do those?
I don't remember off the top of my head, but it wasn't cheap. I mean, it
Mhm.
was more like we're spending like, $1,000, to get all those books out there. But that included, the coasters and all of the things. But,
Mhm.
you know, as I looked at my book again, I didn't write the book to, sell books and make money by selling the books. That's the gravy on top, and I'm thrilled that, the book is selling really well online. But, we wrote the book because we knew that, if we could just convert one prospect to a listing or an auction or maybe a farm management contract, whatever it happened to be, that one could pay for the entire book. So our strategy was a little bit different in that regard. So that's why we've made this huge concerted effort to just get books out to the influencers.
As fast as possible. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, as fast as possible.
I would
So,
encourage I would encourage anybody to, do some research, whatever industry you're in, like go do some research and find out, I mean, what does a service company, what kind of return can they get, with a book, in terms of new business, etc. And there's a lot of case studies that are out there for whatever your niche might be, and read it, and you'll find out very quickly, wow, it is worth it to write the book.
yeah. I mean, if we go back, that's how I got into this business. I'm a business and marketing strategist. And the
Yeah.
number one thing I could do to give you the biggest competitive advantage and get you out onto the bigger stages, the bigger podcasts as fast as we could is to help you write a really good book, but also to understand how it fits in the whole model, which has
Yeah.
been great. And you have a beautiful brand. You really
Yeah.
do.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
And
you.
so it was, this book had to meet those standards. I want to show this gorgeous cover again because you've established, I mean, even your background here, which you said it looks like, I don't know where you are. I love this background. It's perfect, but it's just your home.
I'm at home.
Yeah, it's your home. It's just
Yep.
gorgeous. It's all,
I'm at
it's
home.
all all on brand for you, Johnny.
Well,
So,
we made sure, with the website too. That was a big part before we did the launch, was we put a lot of effort into the website because I wanted to make sure that anybody who ultimately did go to the website also had a great experience, because my target audience are families, and a lot of times there's grandma and grandpa, there's mom and dad, there might be grandkids involved. And so even though, ultimately the person that sort of signs on the dotted line might be, in that 60 plus age range, some of the family members that are part of that inheritance process of the farm are the younger generation. So I wanted to make sure that we had an awesome UI and great experience with the website, super slick, any of the downloadables that they would scan a QR code out of the book. We wanted to make that really friction free and easy for them to get the additional, content that we created for the book. And
Mhm.
I do get a lot of compliments on the website, but we put a lot of time and effort into that too. So, but
Yes. I mean,
deliberately, because
it's just a beautiful book.
yeah, appreciate it. Thanks for
Hmm.
all your help.
Yeah, it's fun. I think that's part of the challenge. I want to go back because that's where we were struggling at the beginning. You have a very unique challenge that you have people that are thinking about selling a farm, buying a farm, or might wait, yeah, selling a farm, buying a farm, or succession planning to send the farm down to siblings. And so it was three different audiences, a wide range of interests. So story really was key because
It
that's the
was.
common denominator. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
thrilled that
it was.
yeah,
Because
beautiful.
the beauty of storytelling is that telling the story about a client's family farm or even my own family farm, there's something in there that resonates with all three of those audiences that we were going after. And I know we had a really big challenge to try to get to the finish line of how we would do that. And a big part of how we did that was the story. And then the strategy behind that was, how can we also have this additional collateral and materials, and these downloadables
Mhm.
that would target each of those audiences, and then let us get some names and email addresses and phone numbers.
Yep. And we mapped it all out from the beginning. Yeah. So that
Yep.
you knew the plan was going to work before you implemented the plan.
Yeah,
It sounds like it's just working faster than you thought it would.
it is. I remember Dana told me, she said, or I asked Dana, one of the people that's involved with niches, I said, what's the one thing you wish you would have done differently before you launched your book, Dana? And she said, Johnny, you're going to send a really big wave out into the world with your book, and you need to be prepared for when that wave comes back to you. And I thought that was a really great analogy that she used. And she told me, she said, here's some of the things I wish I would have done, and she had a website. And she said, I wish I would have put my consulting packages on my website, or I wish I would have added this to my website or done this ahead
Mhm.
of time, because I may have missed out on some of those early opportunities when my book first got launched, for people to maybe,
Mhm.
contact me or want to do business with me. So I took that to heart as well, and tried to be prepared for the wave. So,
Mhm. Yeah, which is, we map the offers out from the beginning before you start writing. So she's our mindset coach in the process. What'd you pull from that experience? So
oh, it was so much fun. It was really fun because, one, she has amazing energy. She's super helpful, like everybody else on the team. And she just wanted me to be successful. I mean, she did a really great job of listening and having, she gave me homework assignments for each time we were on a call. This is what you're supposed to do today. This is what you're going to do before our next call, and really just kind of set you up for success. And it was very conversational. I think one of the great things about working, with you, Nicole, and your entire team is that you're all focused on helping us be successful, right? And everything's very, there are a lot of deadlines, but everything, your whole team just does a really great job of listening and then articulating back into actionable to-dos what you need to do next,
Mhm.
and I know that was where I struggled early on, but we got there,
Yeah.
and it took a whole team, just like it takes a village, right? I mean, uh, the team is here
Mhm.
to help you get to the finish line, and it was an amazing experience.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That's our goal. We have an incredible success rate. So 93% of our authors write and publish their book in a year or less. You did it. Well done.
Yep.
Um, yeah. And that's unheard of in this industry. And it literally is because we support you. We have strategists, we have developmental coaches, we have writing coaches, we have story coaches, we have mindset coaches. we really are all in on making sure that you are supported and your best comes out in your book. And then you're going to be really proud of it when you're done. So I'm just as proud. Our team is just as proud. So it's really great. Okay. Where can people see this website? What's the URL? I think Kimberly's going to drop it in the chat for us. What's the website
Yeah.
for the book?
The website for the book is AmericanFamilyFarmland.com. And there's a little hamburger menu in the top right there if you want to learn more about what I do or what we do. But appreciate the opportunity to be here and share my journey with Niche. It's been absolutely fantastic, and I can't wait to see what happens next with the book, because we're really just getting started.
Yeah. And then next books too. So we're talking on day 4 of our 5-day challenge where we're really like helping you step into this idea of becoming a niche leader. Do you feel like your leadership level in this industry has skyrocketed through this?
Um, I do in certain levels, I mean, it's interesting now that I've authored this book. The conversations are just different, whether that's with past clients or current clients that I'm working with, other colleagues in the industry as well. I mean, it's one. I don't remember who it was at Niche that said this. Maybe it was Michael Haig. Like, it's one thing to write a book, but it's something different to write a good book, right? And that's the scary part, right? Is you've written this book, and you're hopeful that it resonates with your clients or with your target audience. And I'm really thankful that we got to that point, and it's working. So
Mhm, mhm. I'm trying to figure out who said that. It could have been all of us.
it
So
probably
yeah,
was.
it probably was. That's you're going to be really proud of your book. That's our thing.
Yeah,
Okay, so
it's one thing to have your mom read it and say your book is great, right? It's different when an actual client or somebody you don't know picks up the book and gives you that kind of feedback, uh, to help you keep going. So
yeah. By the way, one of the highest honors that our listeners can do for anyone when they read a book is to write a review on Amazon. Reviews on, and like we literally have over 1,000 books out, and if you look on Amazon, your book has 16 reviews, and people don't understand. Like, no, actually, it's very successful. So reviews, if you want to support Johnny or any of our authors, is really valuable. I want to recap on day 4 that what we're really talking about is how do you find your own unique message in your market? How do you stand out, particularly if you have a business like Johnny's, where you're competing with big brands, you're competing with people who have big budgets, and or you are also, you've got a wide variety of audience and audience needs. How do you stand out and how do you find your voice? That's the challenge for today. I think the takeaways, Johnny, what do you think the takeaways are? What are you looking back now? What do you think your
well,
takeaways
I
on
my takeaways immediately were, I wish I would have written the book sooner, right? Maybe I wasn't ready, etc. A few years prior to that, but I wish I would have started writing the book sooner. I wish I would have, if I could go back in time, I would have started writing this book a couple of years sooner, because now that I am at the finish line and I can see, not only that it's truly benefiting, my clients and even people that aren't my clients, but it's opening doors for the rest of my team to be successful at what they're doing. And that whole concept of a rising tide lifts all ships is a really important part of who I am as a person and just the culture at our company. And I would encourage anybody, if you've been thinking about writing a book, one, make sure it's something you're passionate about and really care about, right? And if you've got an opportunity to help people and do some good out there, write the book. Just do it. Jump right in and do it. It'll be worth it.
that? Hey, I want to go back because we talked about the team early on. One of the things I see that some authors do that's a mistake is when if they have a team, that the team thinks that the owner is writing a book isn't that neat. And so when we're working through this, one of the key things that we discussed was your team needs to understand this is an asset for the business. Um, how is the how has your book helped your team? What surprised you about that dynamic?
Yeah, and part of this whole process was that as I began going down the path of writing the book, I was also communicating that to my team, so they knew what I was up to, right? I mean, we have our weekly team meetings, and not that every week I was saying, "Hey, I'm writing a book. This is what chapter I'm on," but I wanted to make sure that as I worked through the book and the strategies behind it, that I communicated that all along to my team. And And then what I ultimately ended up doing, which didn't go to the public downloadables, but I ended up actually creating some additional guides and just sort of step by step that all of our team members could use as they were talking to clients that were out there, so the folks on our team, I mean, they've been able to just make inroads with a lot of different referral partners that maybe they didn't necessarily know that they had. They're giving the book away as a gift. I mean, we had a one of the guys on our team recently, had this opportunity to work with a family on a really large, high dollar sale of a farm. And I reminded him, I said, hey, we just had the first meeting, you need to mail a copy of the book right now. And what we did was we made stickers for each of our team members that says, this is a gift from, and it has their name, right? And then it has all their contact information. So even though it's my book, that it's a gift from them. We created these sort of, form letters. They change them, of course, to fit, the particular client, but they're sending them out immediately, and it's helping them land more business because, it's one thing to send a thank you letter, which we're really big on, but a thank you letter that comes in the form of a book that helps their client through the problem, it just changes the conversation. So,
Oh, I'm so glad we went there for a minute, and well done. Yeah, well done. I think one of the biggest things that I see is the whole team has more pride in what you're doing when you do that. Everybody
yeah,
realizes like, oh, the values of the brand get clearer, the impact of what you're doing gets clearer. It's really nice, and then
yeah.
you've given
I
them an
mean,
advantage.
yeah, it translates back to our mission and our vision. We're
Mhm.
working with landowners. Everybody on our team has this strong tie to the land and to agriculture, to conservation, and we're all very community driven in some manner. We've got, some people on our team are really big into scouts and their kids are into scouts. Other kids or other guys on our team, they volunteer in their local communities. And, the book is kind of full circle, sort of what our vision and mission is as a company and just our core values as humans and our culture. So
Fantastic. All right. Well, thank you so much. Tons of good takeaways. I hope people actually took notes because you gave a lot of good marketing advice in here on what you guys are doing, what's working for you. So thanks for joining us, Johnny. We're going to let you get back to what's most important for our nation right now is, and families in our nation. So thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. Take
yeah,
care.
thank you so much, Nicole. Bye bye.
Mhm.